Kuala Lumpur, November 1989. The World Squash Open is about to begin. A large and expectant audience, 3,000 strong. The King of Malaysia there to watch. The most famous names in squash, and something else. As play gets underway, it's being watched by a much greater audience. Television is giving squash its best ever world coverage. The television audience is seeing a faster, more skillful, emotional and gripping game than ever before. There are real thrills and spills, anger, frustration and fun. The whole game, as seen on the small screen, looks different. Why? From the earliest days, the very nature of squash has always hampered media coverage. Little provision for viewers and 4 solid walls meant that the media had to resort to some rather crude techniques. Usually, the only way to photograph play was to fake the action. Dramatic, isn't it? It wasn't until the 60s that the game was filmed, and even then it was only through a hole cut in the back wall. By the end of the decade, glass back walls were being installed in many clubs, enabling larger audiences to attend matches. But TV coverage was rare. For one thing, a tiny black ball travelling at up to 100 miles an hour was almost impossible to see. And because of the plaster walls, camera angles were limited and coverage couldn't capture the full excitement of play. Restricted to wide-angle rear views and only distant glimpses of the players' faces, the long, exciting rallies, exhausting for the live audience, became frankly tedious. This tedium was broken with the biggest step towards good television squash: the development of special one-way glass, and thence a glass-walled court. By the early 80s, experiments were being carried out to find the best techniques for taking advantage of the glass walls. When the see-through court made its tournament debut in 1982, TV companies showed renewed interest. The all-transparent box didn't only enable new angles to be tried out, producers could also experiment with different colors for the floor, lines, and even the ball. Enter the Tele-Ball in 1984, and with it, excellent ball visibility. The Tele-Ball actually has reflective panels built into its surface. It will only reflect fully, however, when there's a spotlight directly in line with the angle of the camera. This means that a match is easy to follow from the traditional rear view. But when livening up the coverage by filming through the other walls, the spotlight can point straight at the camera. And of course, there isn't much ball reflection from these angles. Even so, this method of coverage has been used for squash ever since. Much larger live audiences have benefited from the glass and perspex courts, and the squash tournament is now an arena event. But TV audiences have been very much the poor relations, with coverage still very conservative. And all this for one of the fastest growing participation sports in the world. Until Kuala Lumpur, that is. For this event, all the old ideas on TV coverage were put aside. Lifetime Television, who were covering the Open for broadcast, decided to adopt a whole new philosophy. To avoid the need for a teleball and its spotlight, highly reflective white balls were illuminated by ultraviolet lamps added to the standard TV lighting. But more importantly, the director took his cameras behind the front wall for most of the shots, producing better angles on the players and the ball. But now there's a new way of overcoming that problem as well. Impressive? So what about the traditional shot from the back? Just as clear. This experimental material, never shown before, is an early result of ongoing tests which are setting the new standards for TV squash coverage. Using a highly sensitive chroma key to cut out the ball, and then taking great care with the floor, line, ball and clothing color ranges, the problem of ball visibility is finally solved. One final point. Take care not to confuse the TV color spectrum with that used in the printing industry. The interrelationships between colors are not the same. Combine this visual clarity with the excitement and atmosphere of real competition, and you have the new television sport for the 90s.
Game and match, Jansha Khan.